Hello, awesome people, and welcome to Control of Allergens. And this one can be a little tricky, guys. So I'm gonna talk about your risks. I did talk about this in the live video a little bit, but your risk around allergens is really sort of dependent on how well you understand the allergens coming into your facility. And your allergens can come into your facility either at your loading dock or with your people. And you got to control it either way. And sometimes a lot of that means just acknowledging it, and that's fine. And so my question for you is in your allergen production processing, you can either separate allergens by space or by time. Now, most of you would separate them out by time because you only have one production facility. Your production facility, when you produce allergens, if you don't normally produce allergens, you got to sequence your allergens so that they are produced after the things that don't have the allergens. And then you've got to have really good cleaning. So very often when you're doing allergens, and I'm going to explain this FDA side of the house first because it's more complicated and more thorough, frankly, and then USDA side of the house. So on the FDA side of the house, if you produce with allergens at all ever, you need an allergen preventive control in your preventive controls plan. Okay, and then you're going to need a sanitation preventive control to clean up after yourself after you produce with allergens. So you are automatically creating two preventive controls. Then, of course, you're also automatically creating the need for a recall plan. Okay, because allergens are the highest reason, or the most common reason, I guess, for having a recall. So when you're looking at your risk is dependent upon your allergen production and your ability to sequence allergen production, and how often you have to do that sequencing and whether you execute it correctly every single time you do it, because that you really, really have to do. Okay, now most of you are doing that correctly, and so the allergen control policy is really pretty basic. You either have allergens or you don't, okay? And you got to control allergens coming in and labeling. You got to control them coming in and labeling. You got to store them correctly. We covered that in storage. And you've got to make sure that allergen cross-contamination doesn't happen when people come in from the lunchroom. All right? So when we get into our 90-day validation, I wrote the 90-day validation with some pretty basic things in mind. You need to check your labels. So if you have allergens, you got to check your labels. There are a lot. Usually this is written into your allergen preventive control. Okay, so this may, if you do have an allergen preventive control, you probably don't need to do this validation separately than the allergen preventive control. Okay, if you're in the USDA, you have to do this because there's no such thing as an allergen preventive control. And if you have allergens, do this. Okay, if you're under FDA, do the 90-day validation around your allergen preventive control. This is written for allergens as a GMP. So by and large, this is going to be for a USDA facility, but both of your kinds of facilities are going to have the SOPs as necessary to support either the preventive controls or the allergen control plan. Either way, you still have to have a policy, and you're just not going to validate if you're doing allergen production on the FDA side of the house, you're not going to validate the policy separately from validating the preventive control. Okay, I know that sounds a little crazy, but that's just, it's to make life easier for you, okay? So remember, you're not validating the policy the way we've been validating all the other policies any different than you're validating the preventive control, okay? You're writing the policy and the preventive control work together, but they're not validated any differently, okay? And so then on the USDA side of the house, you're gonna have the policy and the allergen control plan, and this will, in a sense, validate your allergen control plan SOP. All right, I hope that makes sense. If you have questions, you know where I am. Thanks so much, guys.